What's up, Dragon Brood? So, we're getting close to the Zendikar Rising release, and I want to remind everybody that I'll be playing in the Streamer Early Access event on Wednesday the 16th. Thank you to Wizards of the Coast for the invite for that. So, if you want to catch me, the little title bar you just saw, that has my Twitch link in it. But if you also need it, it's down in the description below, where you can also get this video's deck list, as well as access to our Discord and other things of interest. Also, we have a merchandise channel, really, website, whatever you want to call it. We have merchandise now. The link's down below as well if you'd like to purchase something and support the channel. Now, this last deck list we've got here is a blue-red Wizards deck, and I gotta be honest, this one comes by way of Adam Yeoman5 over on Twitter. He is a very prolific deck builder, and he has put up some I think he's at like 50 deck lists for this set. He's been grinding pretty hard as well, trying to put deck lists together. So for sure, if you see him, check him out. He's always got cool, fun, and interesting ideas. But honestly, as I got to building this list, mine wasn't going to be that much different than his. And truthfully, I think his was already a cleaned up version. And I think this also speaks to this deck not having a ton of options if you're going to build it. This feels pretty limited in number of choices, but we'll see. Before we take a look though, remember, as always, please like this video to help it get in front of more people. Hit the subscribe button so I know you appreciate the work I'm doing, and then hit the notification bell because that's for you to be reminded every time I have a video up to make sure you don't miss out on cool Magic info. But for now, let's go take a look at this Izzet Wizards deck. Now, like I said, this is pretty limited on the number or the type of cards you can actually play in this type of list. Mostly because you have to hit the right requirement of creatures that can utilize these spells. You're also trying to make sure you have enough cards that trigger each of the other cards. And you have to load it up with spells, or else you can't do the things the other cards want you to do. So, and I'll be honest with you, I feel that many times these Izzet decks have been a little bit of a trap. Maybe a couple of cards that got released in Zendikar Rising will help this deck out, hopefully. So those of you that are fans get a little bit of extra action, a few extra tools here. But previously that was not the case, so hopefully we finally got there. But we're going to start at the top, and we're playing Shocks, 4 of them. Because it's good, it's efficient, it's damage. You got to play it. You don't really have a choice if you're building this type of list. Same thing with Opt. You're going to go ahead and play a full set of Opt as well, because it lets you kind of clean up your draws with the Scry. It lets you draw a card, which is good, and it helps you kind of race through and get extra cards into the graveyard. Playing just a couple of Crash Throughs, because again, those draw cards, help you get things in the yard. Giving something trample can matter. There's a few situations where you do build up a big like Sprite Dragon, or maybe you'll have a 3 or 4 power Umara Mystic, and maybe that matters with something chumping it, like say maybe a Brazen Borrower, right? That'll still let you get damage through to kill your opponent. Playing Infuriates, I'm playing a full set of these because the +3/+2 is just so big, and because you have so many things that basically have prowess or get a counter whenever you play spells, they're going to be even bigger. It's almost like saying this is a +4/+3 or +5/+4, depending on the creatures really, each turn. Playing a couple of unsummons just as another way to have another spell, give you a combat trick, maybe slow your opponent down while they are building something up with counters on it. And then this is a fun new card, the Magmatic Channeler. So this is going to get +3/+1 if you have 4 or more instants or sorceries in your graveyard. Obviously, as you can see, we're playing a ton of cheap spells, so it's going to be very easy to get 4 things in your graveyard. And then you effectively have a 2-mana 4/4, which is nothing to turn your nose up at all. But it does let you discard a card, exile your top 2 cards, and then you get the option of playing one of them. So if you're looking for an extra removal card, or maybe something to pump 2 or 3 creatures, and maybe just drew a land and it's not any action for the deck, it's one way to get those last few points, or maybe hunt for like an Infuriate or something if that's what you're in the market for. So this card is probably the most interesting of the new cards to me. We do have Royal Eruption, which this is the thing that's going to help so many aggro decks out that I think, honestly, even after building these lists, I've gone back and looked and thinking I might actually find a way to include these even in my Gruul list, because just having access to do that extra 5 damage to an opponent late in the game is big. I don't overlook that. It's very important. Even just trying to finish off a planeswalker. You know, sometimes you may only be able to attack it with a 2-power, 3-power creature, and you need to get rid of those extra 3 or 4 loyalty. This is a way to do that. So this card, very, very good. And then Seagate Stormcaller. This one's interesting because it basically copies the next spell you're going to play, because all of our spells are cheap, and you know, it can copy things 2 or less, but that's basically everything we're playing. So getting the option of doubling it up is very, very big. So I'm not even upset at this card. I think it's pretty sweet. And, you know, it does have kicker and give you bonus abilities there, but most of the time you're going to be playing it for the lower end. But man, I think this is a very, very good card. It's very deceiving, I think, for a lot of people. You know, some people have also called it like, it's the new Snapcaster Mage. But I'm like, not really. It's not a Snapcaster Mage. It's really good, though, but it's not a Snapcaster Mage. But it is really, really, really good. So it's going, this, between this and the Channeler, I really think that these could be the types of cards that help push this deck over just a little bit. Sprite Dragons, if you played this deck before, you understand it's a 2-mana 1/1, flying, haste, and gets bigger with the +1/+1 counter every time you play a non-creature spell. We're playing 4 Shatterskull Smashing, and again, this is just a land that comes into play untapped. It's a red source, but, you know, late in the game, maybe we do want to use it to deal 3-4 damage and try to end things, or get a creature out of the way so we can attack. Lots of things you can do with it. Playing 3 Brazen Borrowers because the card's just good. It gets things out of the way, and it's also a 3-power attacker. And then Umara Mystic, it's a 3-mana 1/3. Whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or wizard, it gets +2/+0 to end a turn. And that's a big deal that it gets +2, because there's going to be multiple turns where you're going to be able to play 2 or 3 spells, and being able to get this up to a 7+ power could be devastating. You know, also, look at the fact of you have a whole bunch of wizards, so those are going to count too whenever you play them. So do not forget that. That's going to be very, very important. Lands, no real surprises here. Playing a bunch of mountains, islands. We do have the pathway that's blue on one side, red on the other. Very convenient. And then we have 4 temples. So we've got 18 lands along with 4 Shatterskull Smashing. So you basically have access to 22 lands. And only a handful of things cost 3 mana even. Everything else is 1 or 2. So you really can keep hands with just 2 land in most cases. As long as you have access to both colors, you're going to be fine for the majority of your games. Now, as I said before, these decks previously have not been that powerful. They always look great on paper, and they just don't get across the finish line. Now you might be able to, and this is before we even have a sideboard with other stuff we can add to this type of list. So I'm pretty excited to see what this one can do. And y'all know on this channel, we don't play a whole lot of blue cards unless they're doing something interesting. And this one's actually at least got my attention. So I'd be very, very curious how this is going to play out. But for the first time, maybe Izzet has a shot in a long time. So don't be surprised if you see a lot of these floating around in the early days of the Zendikar standard format. Also, don't forget, if you would like to support the channel, we do have a new merchandise site. The link is going to be down below, so you can check that out. And same place you can find this deck list, our Discord, or anything else you're looking for, check out the description. We keep a lot of information and a lot of links down there. And one last thing, we do have the Streamer Early Access event coming up all day Wednesday, September 16th. You can find me there on the Twitch channel. Also, link down below. But that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.